we're going to do another example now. So this one says Van spun the spinner 80 times and found the results in the table. So in this question we have a spinner and it's got colours on it. There's 10 different sections on the wheel and they're all equally spaced sections. So it's telling you what colour each one is. Now, after you did the spinner and you spun it 80 times, these are the results of what you got. So the outcomes are listed on the top row here. So you've got red, that happened 44 times. Green we got 25 times and yellow we got 11 times. So in the question here it says, what is the theoretical probability of spinning red? Now, theoretical probability means what should happen. Okay, so we don't normally use this word theoretical. We normally just say, what's the probability? Okay, so what really should happen? So to do that, we're not going to look at the results of the experiment at all. We're just going to look at the spinner itself. Okay, so we're looking at the red. So if we have a look on the reds here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reds out of 10 sections. So if I write that down, 5 out of 10, we get an answer of a half. So if you simplify that fraction on your calculator, you'll get an answer of a half. So that's what should happen if you spin the spinner. That's the theoretical probability. But over here in part B it says, for 80 spins, what is the expected frequency of spinning red? So in other words, what's the expected frequency or expected number of reds that you think you should get? So what we do here is we get the probability of what we think we should get, which is a half when we simplified it, and we times that by 80 spins. So half of the time we would expect to be spinning a red. So if you use the calculator for that, you'll get a 40 here. So we expect to get 40 reds if we spin it 80 times. Okay, part C. What is the experimental probability of spinning red? Now this time they've said experimental probability. So you don't just look at the spinner. You don't look at it at all. All you're looking at is the results of the experiment. Okay, this is the experiment right here. So they're the numbers we're looking at for experimental probability. So it says, what is the experimental probability of spinning red? So if we look at the reds, it's come up 44 times. So we put 44 on the top, and on the bottom is the total number of spins. And it was spun 80 times, so it's 44 over 80. If you simplify that on your calculator, you'll get 11 over 20 as your answer. Okay, now we're looking over here at these questions. So in D, it says, what is the theoretical probability of spinning yellow? So theoretical, what really should be happening? It's not the experiment we're looking at the spinner. So we're looking for yellow this time. So let's count them. There's 1 yellow, 2 yellows. So we have 2 yellows of the spinner out of 10 things on the wheel. And then we just simplify that on our calculator fraction key and we get 1 over 5. Okay, now it says find the expected frequency or expected number of yellows that we should get if we spin it 80 times. So the expected frequency, we're going to do the probability of getting a yellow. It should be 1 out of 5. Then we spin it 80 times, so we times by the number of spins. And if you do that on your calculator, you'll get 16. So you would expect to get 16 yellows if you spin it 80 times. Now in the bottom one it says, well, what did you really get when you did that experiment? What is the experimental probability of spinning the yellow? So if we have a look at our results over here, the experimental probability of yellow. Look at your experiment. The yellows came up 11 times. So we're going to write down over here 11 yellows out of our experiment, out of 80 spins. And if you use your calculator, that will not simplify at all. We're just going to leave it as 11 over 80. Okay, so that's the end of our lesson today. it's time for you to practice these for homework now.